Welcome to episode 4 of Digge's Huddle, where I give my 2 cents on what I think are the biggest stories in the NFL. We're going to talk about last night's game. We're going to talk about the officiating, of course, and how they continue to affect games.
NFL needs better refs.
We're going to talk about Jayden Daniels and Malik Nabers fighting it out for Rookie of the Year. And Cam Newton disrespecting Eli Manning. What did Cam Newton have to say about Eli Manning? And why would he open his mouth about Eli Manning? Last night was a good game. The Dallas Cowboys got held to 20 points. It's pretty much a defensive kind of game. Again, Dallas only got to 20 points. I was thinking they would get up over 25. The Giants kind of fought with them, but they kept getting down there in the red zone and scoring situations, and they could not capitalize. 5 field goals from the Giants, 2 touchdowns, and 2 field goals from Dallas. So both defenses kind of stood up in the red zone, but Dallas simply made more plays. Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott are now, and Dak Prescott, when he's starting, the Cowboys are 13-2 against the Giants. Dallas has not lost with Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback to the Giants since Dak Prescott was a rookie, and he got swept by a Giants team that went 11-5. And this was in 2016. So this gives you an idea of how long it's been. Also, when you take a look at how Dak's performed against the rest of the division, he has pretty much dominated the NFC East. And Dak Prescott is a quarterback that doesn't really get a lot of respect, but has really done everything that you can ask for him to do as far as his division goes. But when you look at him getting into the playoffs and everything like that, is when things start to get a little bit hectic. Things start to kind of go awry. But we're not going to talk about that right now. So both Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones had 150 plus yards first half. The problem is Dak Prescott had 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones had none. Dak Prescott made the crucial throws that he needed to make to put his team out ahead. Daniel Jones couldn't do it. It's just all of the most crucial plays in this league that generate the outcome of games. It's not about the stat sheet. It's about when you have the time and when you have the opportunity to make a play. Daniel Jones looking down the field. He's got Malik Nabers open on a deep over. He underthrows it. He's got Darius Slayton open down the field. He underthrows it. And those 2 plays, which would have been probably walk-in touchdowns or at least very huge plays, were not able to be made because the Giants don't have a quarterback that can make those plays. They just simply don't have it right now. And it really just showed the difference between a quarterback that is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, that when he needed to make those crucial throws, they got completed. He put the ball where he needed to be. And the other quarterback just simply wasn't able to do that. And it's just really that simple. Now, first off, shout out to the Dallas Cowboys kicker. He kicked a 60-yarder. The guy's a machine. But moving on, the Giants kind of have a ritual of being embarrassed in prime time. And I was sort of expecting something similar. They usually get embarrassed. And really what this shows me is that the Dallas Cowboys may be sort of on the downcline. They may be on the downcline because when you take a look at how they've dominated the Giants, and the Giants don't seem that they're going to be a good team this year. And this is me as a Giants fan saying this, but they don't seem like they're going to be that great of a team this year. And the Cowboys really struggle with them. They struggled to stop the run early on. They were able to shut down the Giants' run game, 1.1 yards per carry. But they struggled early on, and they haven't really been able to flick the switch and just turn into that 12-4, 12-4, 12-4 team that we've seen the last 3 years. And that is probably concerning because they just played down to their competition this week. A couple of weeks ago before, they kind of just got ran out of the stadium. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cowboys do. Michael Parsons is going to be out with an ankle. Trayvon Diggs went out of the game with an ankle. So we'll see if Michael Parsons can get back. I doubt he can get back from a high ankle sprain, even in, a situation where it's Thursday night football. You'll have 10 days before your next game. And I still don't think that he'll be able to get back that quick. So We'll see if the Cowboys can step up their level of play. If not, they're simply not going to be that team. The Commanders are ascending with Jayden Daniels. The Eagles are still the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is still young. They still have those two dominant wide receivers. And I think A.J. Brown is the older of the two. He's got some time before he starts to kind of not be the same A.J. Brown that we see now. So the Dallas Cowboys look like they might be on their way down. They've got to figure out a way to replenish some offensive pieces that they have. They got to fix the offensive line a little bit more. They've got to get a number two receiver that they trust, and they got to get a running back. They have absolutely got to get a running back, and they got to get that defense back to humming like they were the last couple of years. But I'm sure what everyone remembers the most from this football game is the officiating, which is a shame. A real true shame. The officiating in this game was some of the worst officiating that I've seen. Literally some of the worst officiating that I've seen as a football fan. I have never seen a play like that first play that they called against the Giants, where Bellinger, the tight end for the Giants, is blocking someone. And while he's blocking someone, the guy just grabs his face mask. Bellinger's hands aren't anywhere near the guy's face mask. He gets face mask and he clearly gets yanked around, and there's a flag thrown, and they say face mask on number 82 on Daniel Bellinger. And everybody's thinking, okay, at least I'm thinking, maybe Daniel Bellinger grabbed his face mask too. And then they show it from another angle, and he's nowhere near the guy's face mask. And really, the referees made such a big mistake. They meant to say that it was on 82 as far as he was the guy getting face mask. And instead of admitting their mistake and stopping the call, they decided to push it through. And the Giants will get probably a letter from the office. They'll probably get that. But other than that, you're SOL. You just don't get that chance again to go down the field and score. The Giants were putting together a very decent drive there, and it got killed because of that penalty. And poor officiating is part of the game. I mean, how many folks have seen, you get to work the next day, you get to school the next day, and people are talking about this bad call and that bad call. It's been part of sports, and it's something I'm willing to accept. It's part of the game. But once it gets this far to where really simple things are getting messed up, it causes people to start to lean into their conspiracy theories and say this is fixed and this referee's betting on this team. And they also had a stat that I saw online that said that referee, when he's there for the Dallas Cowboys, they score an expected 12 points over what they were expected. So that just brings the conspiracy theories out. And then the very next drive, the Dallas Cowboys are driving, and I think it's a crucial third down, and they throw a screenplay, and there's a clear hold and a clear block in the back that opens up this screen. And the referees throw a flag, and they talk, and then they pick the flag back up. And it just makes you think, is this game fixed? Are they making sure that they beat down the Giants enough, who are the worst team, to where they just aren't able to recover from it? And it seemed that way. And it shouldn't seem that way. A bad call is a bad call. Referees miss calls all the time. That's fine. But to throw a flag for a foul that egregious and then pick it back up, and then the face mask, completely inexcusable. So, officiating aside, I thought it was a great game. I think the Giants are ascending. I think the Cowboys are descending. And I mostly think that the Giants are ascending because of a guy that they have wearing number 1 for them, Malik Nabers. So it's not a matter of taking a look at Caleb Williams and all these other rookies to say, this guy's going to win Rookie of the Year. This guy's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think at this point, it's very clear through 4 weeks. It's going to be between 2 players. It's going to be between Malik Nabers, who I just mentioned, and it's going to be between him and his best friend, Jayden Daniels. 2 LSU Tigers. Loved rooting for them while they were there, but now they're in the NFL. They're best friends. They grew up together at LSU. They both got there. They were looked at as good players, but not dominant game-breaking players. Not they weren't looked at the players that they ended up becoming by the time they came out of college. And that's what they helped each other do. So they have a huge bond. They're really great friends. And now they're in the same division, which is a funny story. Now, Jayden Daniels, I knew Jayden Daniels was going to come out and do this. Jayden Daniels has had one of the great regular season games of all time by any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback, by any quarterback. Jayden Daniels has showed up in that way. Now, he's got 21 of 23 passes completed this past game, 91 completion percentage. He had 254 yards and through the air, 2 touchdowns on the air, and another 39 yards running, and a touchdown running. So he had more touchdowns than incompletions, and he threw for 250 plus yards. He threw a beautiful pass down the left sideline to Terry McLaurin, and then another beautiful pass down the right side to Terry McLaurin. Cliff Kingsbury got into the league, and he had Kyler Murray, a guy who has a similar game, but I would say they're a little bit different. But he got into the league, and Kyler Murray was his quarterback, and people complain because he's throwing screen after screen after short pass, and then they bring in DeAndre Hopkins. And all of a sudden, Kyler Murray is throwing down the field. He's hitting other guys down the field, and the offense is just open. Well, he's doing, first off, exactly what Jayden Daniels did at LSU, which is start off throwing the ball short, conservative, and then started just bombing away in his second year there. But essentially, he's doing what he did with Kyler Murray, which is start him off slow and then open it up. Except with Kyler Murray, it was more like 13, 14 games. With Jayden Daniels, it has happened in 3 weeks. It's happened in 3 weeks where Jayden Daniels has gotten to the point where Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn trust him to go downfield and be aggressive and not turn the ball over and run when he wants to and pass when he wants to. Jayden Daniels has complete control of the offense, and we're only 4 weeks in. So imagine what things are going to look like next year, the year after, the year after. But essentially what we're looking at now is almost a runaway for Rookie of the Year if he didn't have his partner, Malik Nabers, on the Giants. Now, Jayden Daniels, I think, is going to turn around the culture in Washington. They got a new owner. They got new everything. And I think Jayden Daniels is going to be the key to turning this franchise around. As a Giants fan, I'm not excited that the franchise is probably going to get turned around, but I just see it the way I think it is. Now, it takes a special guy to do that for the Washington Commanders, who have had, at least 20 quarterbacks in there since they've had a guy that they really thought was a franchise quarterback that's been there multiple years. It's just that simple. They have struggled there at that position, and I think they finally have a guy. Now, when you look at Malik Nabers, he's someone that is bringing some of that respectability back to the Giants offense. Now, the Giants had Saquon Barkley, but it's a lot easier to stop a running back than it is to stop a receiver. You can move a receiver around. You can get him all kinds of matchups. He's a guy that's running down the field. He's not waiting for an offensive line to block for him. So Malik Nabers is kind of bringing that respectability back to the Giants offense. Malik Nabers has been targeted a ridiculous amount of times. He is the league leader in yards right now until probably Nico Collins goes out there this weekend and passes him. I think he's like 10 yards behind. But he has 35 catches through 4 weeks. 35 catches through 4 weeks. 386 yards, 3 touchdowns. Malik Nabers is targeted 5 yards away from the line of scrimmage. He's targeted 10 yards. He's targeted 30 yards away from the line of scrimmage. He can work every level of the field. He is ferocious off the line of scrimmage. He has great hands. He can do it all. He can run routes. He can do it all. And I think he is literally the only thing that's stopping Jayden Daniels from moonwalking to Rookie of the Year. Now, he doesn't have the quarterback that can get him to maybe a 1,600 yard season, just because Daniel Jones has missed this guy deep at least 3 or 4 times already this year. but I think he will be up over 1,200 yards. I think he's obviously going to go over 100 yards, over 100 catches, excuse me, this year. The only issue with Malik Nabers that I'm not as concerned about with Jayden Daniels because Jayden is starting to slide. Malik Nabers is getting targeted so many times close to the line of scrimmage that he's getting hit by safeties, linebackers, corners, and he's taking a punishment. As you see, he left the game yesterday. He's taking a punishment. And can he sustain being targeted as much as he's being targeted? Can he sustain that? And especially with the targets being so close to the line of scrimmage. These aren't, sweet targets where he's just catching it and going out of bounds. He's catching a ball and getting hit 15 times a game. So this is going to have to be something that the Giants have to think about. They have been getting the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson, their second receiver there, but they have got to figure out a way to lower the targets there. I know he's being productive. I know he's making waves for the Giants offense, but they have got to figure out a way to not get him punished as much, or he won't make it to the end of the season, and it'll be an easy vote for Rookie of the Year. As of right now, it usually goes to the quarterback, but Malik Nabers has started off so special. I really think that these two players are going to end up being co-Rookie of the Year. It'll be a great story. And I just think that makes the most sense from what we've seen so far. Of course, they could run into some kind of slump, but from what I've seen, I think you got to give those two co-Rookie of the Year. I think the other rookies on offense are kind of out of it at this point. Last week, Cameron Newton said, and I quote, "If he gets a gold jacket before me, I deserve two of them." That's what he said about Eli Manning. If you're wondering who he said that about, he said that about Eli Manning. Eli Manning has been nominated for the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, and he has been named a finalist for the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Now, Eli is a guy who is very polarizing. He's a guy who's led the league in interceptions. He's a guy that's beat Tom Brady 2 times. He's a guy that, people didn't like the facial expressions he missed. And Giants fans attacked Eli for years, but I'm sure now they understand that Eli Manning was probably their best quarterback, unless you go back to the 30s and 40s. Who knows how to evaluate that? But when you look at things, Eli Manning to Daniel Jones has really humbled a lot of the Giants fans who were Eli Manning critics. So Cam Newton had a lot to say there in that statement. The man in the funny hat has said a lot of ridiculous things in his career, but this has got to be the most ridiculous. It's got to be the most ridiculous by far. Cam Newton is a former MVP. Give him his round of applause. Give him his round of applause there. Yes, he is a former MVP. But compare that year to Eli Manning's 2011 year, where he threw for 5,000 yards. 40 yards away from 5,000. Carried a team with the 32nd ranked run game, 32nd ranked defense to the Super Bowl. Compare that. Compare those two seasons. If Aaron Rodgers didn't play like an absolute maniac, Eli Manning would have probably been up there in MVP voting. So that's something to consider. But anyway, give Cam Newton his MVP season. By far, not one of the more impressive MVP seasons we've ever seen. But give him his MVP. Go ahead and give that to him. Look at his entire career. Since people want to talk about Eli Manning's career and say you can't nitpick this and that, can't nitpick that, Cam Newton, you look like you're in the same boat as Eli Manning. You look like you're in the same boat. You're 3 games over 500. You are at 60% completion. That's just like Eli. Right at 60% completion percentage for your career. But that's where the comparison stops. That's where things stop. Now look at longevity. Eli Manning played 16 years. Cam Newton played 11. And a lot of times he didn't even play. Eli Manning threw for 25,000 more yards. And I don't want to hear about, well, Cam Newton also ran. Sure, he ran the football. Did he run for 25,000 yards in his career? Did he? Did he run for 25,000 yards in his career? I don't think he did. Eli Manning never missed a game in his entire career to injury. He just didn't miss a game. He fought through injury after injury after injury because he could actually sit in the pocket and throw the football. He didn't have to run. He could actually sit back there and be hurt and still carved defenses up. He missed no games due to injury. Cam Newton missed 33 games. He missed 33 games. He let his team down and sent the backup quarterback out there 33 times in his career. Now, Eli Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. He has 2 of the most memorable throws in NFL history. One to David Tyree across the middle, who was open, by the way. He didn't just throw it up. He was open, by the way. And the next thing is the most beautiful textbook hole shot that we've seen in NFL history in a Super Bowl to Mario Manningham down the left sideline. Game-winning drives in both of his field goals, one of the all-time leaders in game-winning drives and for his career, one of the more clutch players in NFL history. So he's a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Cam Newton doesn't have one, and in fact, Cam Newton is the reason that his team doesn't have a Super Bowl because Cam Newton didn't want to hurt his leg. He didn't want to hurt his leg, so he doesn't have a Super Bowl. So that's fine. He chose his leg over the Super Bowl. Some guys have it and some guys don't. Some guys have gold jackets and some guys don't. Now, let's take a look at their cast. Let's take a look at the supporting cast. Eli played with 12 Pro Bowlers in his career. Cam Newton played with 12 Pro Bowlers in his career. Guess what? Eli Manning played 5 more seasons than Cam Newton. Same amount of Pro Bowl players. Cam Newton had Luke Kuechly and Josh Norman on the same defense. Who's the best cornerback that Eli Manning had on his football team? I'll wait. Who's the lockdown corner that was of Josh Norman's caliber that he had? Who was the middle linebacker of Luke Kuechly's caliber, the defensive player of the year? How many defensive player of the years did Eli Manning's the supporting cast on defense win? I just want to know because everybody says Eli Manning was carried by the defense, but the stats, they say other things. So 12 and 12, Eli Manning played 5 more years and still had the same amount of Pro Bowlers he played with. What's the first play you think of when you think of Eli Manning? What's the first play? Well, just let me know what the first play pops in your head is. Now, what's the first play you think of when you think of Cam Newton? And I rest my case. That's exactly what I thought. Cam Newton, you're not better than Eli Manning. And there's a reason he's a finalist for the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. And there's a reason that you will never be on the ballot for the Hall of Fame. So let's take a look at some of the games for the upcoming week. We're going to go through actually every game one by one. We're going to pick our teams, pick who we think will win, and we're going to get out of here. We're going to pick with the spread. We're going to let you know what it is, and we're going to go ahead and pick. So New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons to start things off. The Falcons are 1.5-point favorites. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I think Kirk Cousins is going to keep heating up. I think he's going to, get back to being Kirk Cousins coming off that injury. Pittsburgh Steelers are the favorites by 1.5 against the Colts. I'm going to go with the Steelers. The defense has been incredible. Anthony Richardson just can't seem to put it together. So I'm going to go with the Steelers. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. The Texans kind of let me down last week. I picked them. They let me down. And because of that, the Texans are favored by 4.5 points. I'm going to pick the Jags. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have Evan Ingram, but you got to figure out a way to get it done, or Trevor Lawrence is going to be starting to get looked at as a guy that doesn't have it. He just got paid, but he just kind of is missing something. So let's keep an eye on that game. Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. There's no Jordan Love. Packers look good. The Packers looked good last week. They really did, even with Jordan Love out. But here's something I'll say, is the Vikings look like the best team in the league. Is that just fool's gold? The Vikings may have the best defense in the league. They destroyed my Giants week 1. And then they came out and whooped the 49ers. And they just continue to do the same thing. So why would I pick against this red-hot team going against the backup quarterback, Malik Willis? He's not someone who I would think is going to drop back and just tear apart this Brian Flores defense. And because of that, even though the Packers are favored for some reason by 2.5 points, I'm going with the Vikings. Cincinnati Bengals are favored by 5.5 over the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to go with the Bengals. It just is what it is. I think they'll easily win by more than 5. This is a get right game for them, and they got to get a lot more of these wins down the stretch. So it's got to start here. Los Angeles Rams at the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears are 2.5-point favorites. Caleb Williams has not been good this year. A lot of people are saying that Caleb Williams is a draft bust, and like they're saying, like, is the second pick going to be better than the first pick again this year? That may very well happen. But I'm not ready to give up on Caleb Williams because he's had a bad first 3 games in the NFL as a rookie quarterback. It's a bad first 3 games. Like, come on, folks. So I'm not ready to give up on Caleb Williams, and I don't think you should either. But all that being said, I don't think Caleb Williams is all of a sudden going to look good this week. So I'm gonna go with the Rams. They just beat the 49ers last week. Come on, like why are they underdogs in this situation against the Bears? So going with the Rams. Denver Broncos at the New York Jets. The Jets are favored by 7. They'll win by 7 or more. Broncos won last week, but to a broken clock is right 2 times a day. Philadelphia Eagles favored by 2 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the Bucs this game, and it seems like Vegas kind of likes the Bucs because the spread is closer than what I thought it would be. I think the Bucs are going to do a great job against the run, and that will really affect the way that the Eagles play football. So I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I'm going to have them obviously winning, and of course they'll win by more than -2 points, or else they wouldn't win. Moving on, we're going to go with the Commanders at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are favored by 5.5 points. That is a spread right there. That's definitely a spread. And hopefully these spreads are right because I listed these out. They may have changed, but I'm thinking these spreads are right. Favored by 5.5 points. I'm going to go with the Commanders over the Arizona Cardinals. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to know everything there is to know about Kyler Murray. I think Jayden Daniels is on fire. Again, I think he's going to change the culture there. I think he's going to be a reason that they start winning football games on a regular basis. So I'm going with the Commanders here. New England Patriots at the 49ers. No analysis needed here. 49ers by 100. They're favored by 10.5, but they should be favored by 15. 49ers are going to wipe the floor with the New England Patriots. I feel bad for the situation that Gerard Mayo has himself in, but it just is what it is. Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. For some reason, the Raiders are favored by 1. I know the Browns just lost to the Giants. I know Deshaun Watson and that offense look horrible. I understand also that they're missing some offensive linemen and they're playing against Max Crosby, but the Raiders just aren't that good. I'm going to go with the Browns just because I think their defense is going to be able to make enough plays to win this football game. Kansas City Chiefs favored by 7 against the Chargers. The Chargers just can't find their way. I'm picking the Chiefs this week. And then Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to go with the Bills. The Ravens are favored by 2.5, but I'm going to go bold and I'm going to go with the Bills. Josh Allen has played well this year. He hasn't really gotten on front page kind of news, but he's been playing well. And because of that, I think he'll pull out this win over the Ravens. Looking at Monday, we got 2 Monday night games. The Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins is a pick'em game. I'm picking the Titans. The Dolphins, they can't get anything right since Tua's been out. It's just that simple. It's unfortunate, but I'm going with the Titans there. And then the Seattle Seahawks at the Detroit Lions. The Lions are favored by 4.5. And I'm going to go with the Lions. The Seahawks are a good football team, and they'll probably be able to get their win next week against the Giants. But this week, the Lions have got to start stacking up some wins because I think they are one of the premier football teams in the NFL. So you're sitting on the couch, you haven't subscribed to Digge's Huddle, your life's passing you by. You say, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. No, do it right now. You sit on the computer all day anyhow, subscribe to Digge's Huddle and come back and watch this next week.